Alright, here's a tank at 5 months, and I've made a couple of changes again. I did add some really gentle air. Well, I put it in the corner by the plants so that there wouldn't really be any current in the tank. I've added a plant, Burl Marks philodendron. Before I had these plants, I had the cuttings that are here now and a spider plant. I removed the spider plant. I've gotten about a foot of growth from the pothos and the what do they call that? Satin something. It's in the Ariaceae family. It's not a pothos. I think they do call it satin pothos, but silver something. I'm not thinking. So that's been sort of trailing across the water. And you can see that the vine underwater is growing some roots. I'm going to have to take some video at night and overdub. But there's quite a few roots coming off of the other cuttings, which was not the case 2 months ago. The dwarf sag has really taken over. It's not as dwarf. In the winter, it's probably going to get really tall when there's less light. I've thinned it twice. I need to thin it again. A lot of people friends wonder when I say that, why I want to thin such lush growth. And that's because there are so many plants per square inch. And what ends up happening is their roots get tangled and matted together, and it makes it harder to thin them at that point. And I've had actually a 10-gallon that was so overgrown with this stuff that when I started to try and prune it, I found it was just easier. I could lift up like grass sod. I could lift up a corner, and I could just pull it up in a strip, and all the roots were tangled. So I don't want that to happen. So I'm just going to keep thinning. You can barely tell once I've thinned because there are so many plants in there. I have changed some plans around the colony thing as far as this tank and how many males I'm going to have in it. Right now I have 3 juvenile females, 1 adult male, and then a number of babies. The babies are coming out 1, 2 at a time because the females are still so small. What I also have is a ton of Heterandria formosa. They seem to almost be outbreeding the Endlers, and that's probably because all the Heterandria formosa in there that are breeding are adults. I started with a trio a couple of months ago, right around the time of my last update. I know I've got 2 juvenile males along with an adult male and 2 females, and then there are a ton of babies that tend to stay down in the plants. They don't come up very much when I feed. The older ones do. They're probably afraid of predation. They could easily fit in the mouths of these Endlers. So that's primarily why I added the air. That's sort of the limiting factor in a tank of this size. And without knowing exactly how many Het formosa are in the tank, I just figured I'd err on the side of caution and add some. So I've also culled about, I think 3 of the largest females. I'm thinking a ratio of 3 adult females to 1 male and then a bunch of babies is probably the way I want to go. I'm not in any hurry to have an overrun tank. And again, I just have no idea how many Het formosa are in this tank. Oh, I was going to mention that this money tree, these 2 money trees are doing great. And I still have them in this really small flower pot, and roots aren't even coming out the bottom. And that's because the roots on these things, the root systems are like minimal. I just find it really interesting. So throw a picture in there. I also put 5 males into a 6.5 gallon tank. They're sharing that tank with a dwarf orange crayfish. It's become one of my new favorite critters. I've never kept crayfish before. That tank has no aeration. It does have light. For filter, I'm using a pothos plant. All the plants in the tank are epiphytes. They don't do much to filter the water, and there's some floaters in there too. And it's a 6.5 gallon bookshelf tank. I really like this format. I really, really like all the surface area on this tank.